The world never ends in the dramatic way we expect. Sometimes it starts with something small. An ache you thought you already outgrown, a quiet shift in the air, the sense that the life you're living has stretched a little too far away from you. I've always carried yearning like that, sometimes quietly in the background and other times so loud it feels like it could split my chest open. It's the pull of possibilities that never happen, the futures I still imagine even when I tell myself I shouldn't. And whenever that ache returns, it tells me something simple yet honest. Something in me is unmet. Something in me wants to move again. I used to think yearning was weakness, but now I understand it as more as a signal, a kind of internal alarm that goes off whenever I'm too far from autonomy or belonging with a version of myself that feels real. No one warns you how soft an unmet need can be, how it can sit in the body like dust, barely visible until the light shifts, and suddenly everything you have dealt with glows in the air between you and the life you want. Maybe the apocalypse doesn't arrive with fire, maybe it begins as a whisper, a slow awareness that what once sustained you no longer does. And maybe yearning, this stubborn, impossible ache, is the first sign that something inside you is ready to change.
Row your boat gently down the stream.
If I trace this yearning back to its beginning, I always end up in childhood. That was when the world started feeling heavier in ways I didn't have words for. All I wanted were simple things: to be understood, to be met halfway, to feel something fully without being told it was too much. But sensitivity isn't something children are taught to hold with care. I learned early that my emotions were inconvenient. There is a particular kind of heartbreak that only happens in childhood. The moment you realize the very things that shape you are the things people ask you to tone down. Looking back, I can see how early I started asking myself to be smaller.
How happy is the blameless vessel's lot? The world forgetting by the world forgotten.
That's the thing about girlhood. It's not just growing up. It's learning who is allowed softness and who is expected to survive without it. There are unspoken expectations everywhere. Hope, but modestly. Feel, but never in a way that asks something of someone else. Want, but never in a way that disrupts the room. I didn't understand it then, but this was the birthplace of longing. Not the romantic kind, but the survival kind. The kind that grows in the quiet, folds itself inward, and waits for the day you're finally strong enough to let it speak again. As I got older, the ache changed. It wasn't distant anymore. It sat closer to the skin, sharp, insistent. That's the thing about growing up. One day, the world feels so small and you realize you've been holding your breath for years. The familiar starts to feel like a trap. The walls you grew up in suddenly too close, smelling faintly of everything you outgrew, old routines and a version of you that never learned how to want out loud. My teen years turned everything around for me. I started hearing my own thoughts clearer than the ones people fed me. I noticed the moments I went silent, the parts of myself I kept tucking away, the ways I softened my edges without even thinking. That's where yearning shifted. It was no longer a soft ache, but a pulse under my ribs. It was steady, uncertain, and impossible to ignore. I started asking questions that made the ground feel different beneath me. Is this really my life? Do I even want what I'm pretending to want? Who am I when I stop performing the version of myself everyone seems more comfortable with? It was a quiet heartbreak of realizing the life around me had grown too tight for the person I was becoming. That's when yearning stopped being a feeling and became a direction. It wasn't pointing me towards something new yet, it was just simply pulling me away from what no longer held me. It was a quiet, undeniable reminder that I was never meant to stay small in the first place. To grow is to break a little. To break open is to move. When those words began echoing through me like a mantra, I realized yearning had taken on another shape entirely. It wasn't the ache I learned to quiet or the pulse that I learned to follow. It was something else now, something that demanded I pay attention. I kept trying to anchor myself to what I knew, naming pieces of a life I'd long outgrown, reciting the versions of myself I thought were fixed. But even as I repeated them, they began dissolving in my hands. This was the shift I didn't realize until I was already in it. Yearning sharpening into direction, into a kind of inner instruction, not begging for escape, not dreaming of elsewhere, but asking, clearly, urgently, for transformation. For the first time, I understood that urgency. The ache wasn't a longing anymore. It was a blueprint, a quiet vow that the future I inherited was not the future I had to accept. There has to be more than this, something in me kept insisting. A life that fits, a path that doesn't require disappearing to survive it. Freedom, I learned, is dangerous, but it's precious too. You can waste years pretending you're not ready for it, but you can't stay where you've already outgrown yourself. So yearning became sharper. Not a wound, not a tenderness, but a commitment. A promise to keep walking even when the ground shifts. A promise to shape a life that feels honest. A promise to build a time worth living in. And maybe that's where the real movement is. Not the dramatic leaving, not the sudden epiphany, but the moment longing stops hurting and starts pointing. The moment it stops pulling you backward and begins finally to pull you forward. And once I let it move me, I understood. Yearning was trying to bring me home. Because we all have versions of ourselves that break and drift and return. That's what stays with me. Not the damage, not even the escape, but the quiet fact that we find our way back to ourselves every time. And maybe yearning was never the wound I mistake it for. Maybe it was a compass. The reminder that I was meant to return to myself again and again in every version, in every lifetime. Because coming home to yourself is the last movement, the truest one. Not a return to who you were, but to who you were finally ready to be.
An escape. Then adrift in a stranger's galaxy for a long time. But I'm safe now. I found it again. My home. I have found you 9 times before, maybe 10. And I'll find you again. Until the last time. I always do. I find you because I know you, and I know you because we are the same. You will know your endpoint when you reach it. In the early days.